I'm feeling a bit guilty tonight. When I write my newspaper columns, or indeed for the show, I tend to write exactly what's on my mind without properly considering the consequences. You press send and then you think, whoa, what have I done? Well, today I thought I'd write about Donald Trump, how he's really hurting the Liberal campaign. But then I started to list problems with the Liberals themselves, and I didn't hold back, and now I feel really sorry for the candidates. Some of them are friends. They're now reading that the Liberal campaign has already fallen to bits because of some very poor decisions. And this is with them still having to work for 2.5 weeks. Now, I won't go through all the list, go read it yourself, but joining me are two communications consultants, Gemma Tognini, a Sky News regular, and Christy McSweeney, who's worked for Coalition Prime Ministers and Premiers. Ladies, look, I think the Coalition really should win this election because Labor's been so very, very bad at governing. But I also can't help but admit the Coalition's campaign is just not being good. And I feel sorry for the friends who are like me saying so early in the story. But am I wrong here, Gemma? Should I be sorry that it is in fact the case that it's not good? Am I wrong, maybe?
I don't think that's the right question, Andrew. I think the right question is why should we be focusing on the optics and the cosmetics of campaigning, which bears very, very infrequently on the veracity or ability of a government to govern. Case in point, the Albanese government, which campaigned brilliantly last time around and have governed absolutely appallingly. So, look, I understand the point you're making, but the counter question I would like to ask is, do the people tonight watching our show and watching other channels, if they dare, do they look through the same lens that we look through in our industry and our sector, or do they look past that and say, I recognise this government's been a disaster, I want anyone but them? I wonder still if there are shades of 2019 at play here.
Look, I totally agree with you, Christy. I mean, this is the story for me of the campaign. I've said it again and again and again, more than the Liberals have said it. Labor's campaign is based on central lies. Medicare lie, lies. $600 billion nuclear reactor, that's a lie, you know. But face facts, Labor is winning precisely because of his campaign. The flim-flam and the journalists are falling for it.
Well, look, Andrew, I've worked on every coalition campaign since 2004, showing my age here, but I've also got experience of when we ran campaigns that didn't have the added social media immediacy as part of them. Now, that's something that Labor captured very well. They were the first people to capture it in 2007 with Kevin 07, with the advent of Facebook. The coalition had caught up in recent years and were doing absolutely fantastic with social media. We've got great social media strategists coming from New Zealand, from the United States, who've successfully won elections for the National Party in New Zealand and the Republicans in the US. I feel that Labor's really doubled down its bet on social media, partly because they have to battle the Greens for that youth vote. And I've seen a lot of the vox pops coming out from TV journalists interviewing young people who are just purely getting their news from social media. So the format of how we campaign has changed. People are targeting specific demographics in different ways. And so to the point just previously made, yes, people are looking at campaigns through a different lens. Political insiders are always going to have a different view, but the majority of the population, they aren't watching the way we watch, and they aren't watching the way we traditionally have thought they did either.
Yeah.
I know, it's just incredible to me that you can win re-election by running a good campaign even though you've been an absolute SHIT government. I just cannot believe it. For instance, Gemma, let's get to the real stuff, not the campaign flim-flam. I mean, both of you have been in business for years. Gemma, you've been in business for 22 years, running a company. It must drive you absolutely nuts to see Labor handing out billions and billions of dollars in handouts and grants and this and that without promising anything. to help
doesn't mean
business make the
anything.
wealth to pay for it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, those of us, there's you know, to reiterate what I wrote in my weekend column last weekend's Australian, you know, the SME sector is 32% of the GDP, employing 5 million Australians, and we all know, every single one of us knows, whether you're at the S end of the spectrum or the E end of that SME spectrum, we all know that you need to, you know, budget, forecast, you know, align your forecast with your actuals. You can't just print money and promise crap that you don't deliver. I actually feel contempt for this government in that respect, because it's absolutely crystal clear they don't have a clue, and they're walking around, as you say, going, oh, everyone gets a car, you get a car, you get, you know, money here, money there. Fantasy health policy, fantasy housing policy based on absolutely God knows what. It doesn't mean anything. It's absolutely without substance, and everyone should know that if, God forbid, they should get re-elected, that goes all out the window. There is no binding. You know,
Yeah,
it's an election promise.
Climate policy as well.
Yeah, well, that too.
Fantasy. Oh my God! Talk about fantasy. How about this, Christy? Former Labor Treasurer Wayne Swan, right? He's coming back from the Labor National Conference, from the Labor campaign launch. You know, Labor. He's posted a picture of two other Labor heroes: Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek, former Labor Prime Minister Julia Gillard. But check this. The picture on the right is the one that Swan posted, strangely with the background cropped out. When you see the original on the left, you see why. It's the new Qantas Chairman's Lounge. So modern Labor is actually very well-heeled Labor, pampered. Now, why do you think Swan would crop that out, Christy McSweeney?
Well, I don't know, Andrew. I mean, he has been lauded as the world's greatest treasurer. Maybe he understands a strategy about photography that you and I don't. But of course, Labor politicians, and I think that was exactly as you said off the back of the Labor conference, they don't want to be caught in the Qantas Chairman's Lounge, do they? We know that Labor has a very cosy relationship with Qantas as well. We know Qantas went all in on the Voice and painted the livery of the plane. We all know that they want to keep things very nicely done with the TWU and Stop Qatar. So we know that that's a really cosy relationship. We know politicians of any party love their Chairman's Lounge. No one likes it when it runs out and you lose election, you say, bye, you get that call from Qantas, you can't. But cost of living crisis, Labor for the workers, no one wants to be seen quaffing the champagne and sitting in there, do they?
Labor's for the workers in first class, that's what it is. Gemma, I've got 10 seconds. What do you make of that?
Well, I am not a member of the Chairman's Lounge. However, I have been a guest on occasion, and I don't believe you're allowed to take photos inside the Chairman's Lounge. So maybe that's part of it as well. But I'm with Christy. This is nothing better than a socialist with a snout in the trough. It's just true to form.
Labor's come a long way. Christy McSweeney, Gemma Tognini, thank you very much to you both.